I was thinking about how we created a lot of enthusiasm around that 3.0 release, and 3.1 is just as big, to me more exciting because I am the front end designer and developer here at Paid Memberships Pro. Stay tuned. This whole stream is going to be about 3.1. We're going to talk about the front end design, which for 13 years you've been looking at Paid Memberships Pro and saying, I wish it looked better. I wish my levels page looked better. I wish my checkout page looked better. Now it does, and there's two variations you can choose from. So all of these sites are going to have the most beautiful, conversion optimized, and fully accessible checkout pages, front end editing forms across the board. So we're very excited. It was a lot of sweat, tears, blood, and the development continues through all of our add-ons. And I'm also going to talk about our security tab. Web security is so important. All these challenges we put in place, AI is starting to be able to solve them. There are people across the world throwing data at your site, trying to do card testing, trying to get money from your site, trying to hack in and change settings. We just saw this big issue with the WordPress plugins and vulnerabilities there. So this security tab is one that you're not going to want to miss me talking through as part of this stream. But before we get started, we want to ask if you can give this video a like, give this channel a subscribe. Part of what we look at with our videos is how they perform, who's watching, and who's subscribing and liking these videos. And that helps us decide what new content to make. So this is a announcement kind of video. Do you like this kind of video? You can subscribe, and that'll show us that we should make more kind of launch party, launch day videos like this. And any other content you've consumed on our YouTube channel like that too, so we know what direction to keep producing in. I'm going to share my screen and show a demo site that we have. I could share this. It is on our InstaWP demo sites if you've gone to try.pmproplugin.com. So let's first just look at the design settings that you get with 3.1. If you see our menu here, we now have the security tab we'll talk about later and this design tab. So this is what we're going to start with. There are two new global style variations built in. A default recommended style, rounded corners, soft shadows, everything's lifted and cards layout. The buttons reflect that same rounded with a subtle shadow to just create some visual interest in clicking on those buttons. So that's the default and our recommended currently. And then we also have this more high contrast, no rounded corners, square edges with this harsh border that kind of lifts the cards off the page. If your theme is more of that kind of sharp color contrast, you're going to want to choose the high contrast. The minimal is basic styles that you would need just to have a functional site. It's pretty limited what is included there. And that's so that your theme or custom code or custom CSS can really take control. There's always a race condition with CSS to say, no, I want to be in control. No, I do. And then you end up adding these like important tags, or you have selecting something with CSS like 10 selectors deep. If you're not a developer, you're like, yada, yada, what did she say? But for other people who do try to build a design layer on top of a plugin like Paid Memberships Pro, or a theme author who's creating a theme with built-in customizations for Paid Memberships Pro, you're going to advise people to choose the minimal, and then your styles will naturally load on top, knowing that the minimal, as PMPro releases, will only include the minimum things that you need. And what's the minimum things? It's basically nothing really design oriented. Anything that we want to like visually hide has a hidden class. And that's when we do like a honeypot for spam protection. So that's one thing. Formatting for like our required fields, asterisks, error message fields so that they show up as the colors to indicate visually that a error is a warning, an error or a success, or just a generic message. And then also for people using Stripe elements with the on-site Stripe checkout, some field borders, because the way Stripe Elements embeds currently with us, they don't look like fields unless you add a little bit of CSS. So that's minimal. I know some people are thinking to revert back to that because they might be seeing inconsistencies between their theme and one of the other two. But please reach out to us because I helped someone today with an inconsistency that was one line of CSS, and it now looks really beautiful in high contrast mode with their Blockify theme. If you're choosing minimal just because it just looks a little weird in one place, it might be a really small CSS fix that I'm happy to help you write. Default is what we'll start with on this. And then we have 3 color settings. The base color is the background color of these cards. There's a lot of card systems you can see now in Paid Memberships Pro that group like elements together, group like fields together in forms, group levels together. So that base color is the background color of your card, and the contrast is what's used for text color. We had to add these because some sites have a dark mode and you would get an inconsistency where like a field would be white on a white background with white text and you couldn't see it. So now we're a little bit more overpowered. But if you have a dark mode theme, all you have to do is go into these color settings and swap contrast with base. Then your contrast color would be white, the color text of your site, or whatever gray tone you have your text as in your dark mode theme. And then the base color would be black, or that same body background color, whatever shade of that dark mode is. Accent color is the color used for buttons. We used a default blue, which is our brand blue, but you can swap that to any color you want. Just know that the colors we have here are accessible. They're passing the WCAG guidelines for color accessibility. If you change accent color to a bright orange or a bright red color, you might not keep that accessibility. So just know how to test them. Now that they're saved, if we come back to the front end of our site, this is our new beautiful levels page. It's still a table layout, which some people might have not love, but there are options to change that with Paid Memberships Pro, whether using core features or our advanced levels add-on. But I think it just really appears really nicely. And a cool benefit in 3.1 is that this now collapses, as you can see. Tables don't behave responsively on smaller screens, which is why a lot of people have moved away from using tables, but there are ways to have tables gracefully collapse. As you can see here, our levels table that had columns is now collapsed down, and the items are labeled and the select buttons appear more as a stacked appearance. So I'll get out of that view now, and I'll just go to our checkout page. This site does not have any custom fields. It's just a standard checkout page. You can see here the membership information is relatively the same. We now have our discount code in kind of a actions group on the bottom of the card. I am logged in, so I'll log out and show this as well. This site isn't using any of our add-ons related to checkout. It's using the core built-in Stripe with the checkout field here. So that's our checkout form. Let me log out just so we can see. This is the checkout form now as a not logged in person. I'm going to show a cool feature, which is this new password toggle. I can click that toggle password to make my fields visible right there. And then I'll show, I don't know, you can see the glow of my tab index. This is an accessibility thing. How do buttons interact with people who are using keyboard navigation only if they are not using a mouse or a trackpad to navigate? So I'm tabbed into the username field. I then enter the password field, and my next tabbed event is this hide password, which I can use my keyboard to toggle the visibility of. So this is those accessibility features. We've done a lot of our own testing. We had user testing done with an accessibility expert, and we're keeping on merging all of those ideas and needs into the core plugin so that you have an accessible from the get-go experience with your front-end PMPro forms. So it's interactive with the keyboard just like that. If people don't have an account, they can log in and it'll return them to checkout. Good moment to showcase the login form. Carries the same appearance like we were looking at on the checkout form, and that same ability to toggle our password visibility right from there. You also have that password toggle on the password reset feature. So if someone did begin this lost password recovery, click the link from their email, come back to your site where this is the reset form. You'll see 2 password fields with a strength indicator, but then this would have that strength indicator with the visibility. So I'm going to log back in. So I'm logged back in. Let's purchase a level just to show this checkout. This is a Stripe testing gateway right now, so my testing gateway credentials will work. I don't have a discount code. So let's do the checkout, and we'll show you the confirmation page and the beautiful new front end order. It takes a moment to communicate. Okay, so here's my confirmation page. Now, orders on the front end, we used to formally use the term invoice, but legally and internationally, that was an incorrect term to use. These are not invoices. There's something that an invoice needs to have to legally be called an invoice. These are orders. They're receipts for your payment. So now the new front end appearance really makes that more clear what the order number is. We looked at a ton of receipts and orders for online checkout experiences to try to put together what the best practices for this really are and what information needs to be included. So you'll see now we're pulling in a pay to field, which is an important part to get these orders closer to international compliance. It's choosing the name of your website or the name set in your WordPress settings as your site name. We plan in the future to add more ability to customize this. It can be filtered currently with custom code, which we do on our own site. We add our address there, which is another feature of making an order internationally compliant. It needs to reflect who you paid that money to and what their address and location is. Phone number, eventually maybe a tax ID could be required in some locations. So there's more information you can use right now with custom code to populate that pay to field. Eventually, we plan to add some settings fields that let you include the shop address. This bill to field would show the billing address of the order. I can hack that and add the order address and just show you how that looks. So now in the order, the bill to will reflect the billing address, and then the account information will be shown as part of the description of what was purchased. And this is useful in cases where we want the account to show like the username and email address, but that bill to really has to be what they identified it as. Think of a business purchasing the account with their corporate credit card. It's billed to Stranger Studios LLC, PO Box 4515, Reading, PA, but the account holder is a different username and email address. So we want to make sure that the order reflects as much information as we know about that checkout. If I'd used a discount code, that would show here. And if I had reflected a tax on this order, no one's tax is ever that much, right? $10 on a $25 order. It would show as line items here. We have some ideas to also show a breakdown of what the discount was, what the original amount would have been. For donations, we have some ideas in the future to have line items for donations separate of the charge. So lots of ideas and goals. Send us your feedbacks. Another cool thing this shows is the range or date range that this is a monthly payment. So this is showing this payment is covering a period from today, July 18th, through August 18th, 2024. So a really good thing for people to reference, especially when they have multiple memberships and they're not exactly sure what orders for what. They can see what payment period that's reflecting through what end date. Also show, we have this print or save as PDF. Okay. So it pops up the dialog where I can do a print or save as PDF right there. Order status. Okay. Let's go to our account. We're still on the 2023. Let's switch to, I don't know, what theme do you want to switch to? Let's switch to the Go theme. What does this look like? So now I'm on a different theme completely, but it really carries the same design. We don't see much changing. We were very heavy with our CSS to say, don't let other themes interfere. Here I am with Generate Press, carrying the same design. So we're hopeful that we won't see as much issue where people activate a theme and are having unusable checkout pages. Here, Cadence, a very popular theme. And then I was working today with someone with the Blockify theme. So this is Blockify. Again, looks pretty much the same. I only have one membership level currently. I could check out for another one so we could see. Let's do that. And we can see the appearance of things. This site has only one level group where levels only one per group. So it's not really a multiple memberships per user setup yet, but I'll add an add-on items group that allows multiple selections. And we will add a monthly, 2 hours monthly coaching. Subscription level. So you can see how we've now taken the logic of what we supported in 3.0 with multiple levels per multiple memberships per user and really made it visually clear that a person is holding more than one level and they can manage them independently of each other. Let's check out for that. So now you see my account page. This is the default shortcode block showing all the sections, the My Account section where people can move to a change password form. And then in my membership section, we're getting a really distinct card per active membership. I'm going to cancel one so you can see how this changes. But now we're showing, instead of an empty expiration field, which always confused people, they're like, wait, but it does expire. Like they only paid for a month. It expires next month. No, it keeps charging them. And it's their next payment date really is what we want to show here. So now we're showing what their subscription amount is. It would show nothing if it was a totally free level and when their next payment will be taken. If I were to cancel this, I'll show you the cancel page. We've also done a lot here to make this cancel page more very clear. What exactly is being canceled and what exactly is happening. So the act of canceling a recurring subscription, it will not bill the person again. Their membership will remain active until their next payment date. If I say yes, cancel this membership, and then I go back to the message here is a little bit more clear. Active membership will expire. I'll go back to my membership account, and now you'll see I still have this monthly with a subscription and the next payment value. And then for my other level, I have an expiration of that same date. And I can cancel it totally here. This monthly, because I checked out with a credit card on site, I can change my billing information and go to that page. I can cancel the membership like we just experienced. Or because this is a membership level in a group that only allows one per, we see a change link, which is change this level within this level group. I don't see it here because this was a multiple levels group. So there's no change in that context. I'll talk about the menu here. This is what a WordPress theme that just says, oh, just build it based on the hierarchy of all pages. But it's a good example of what also changed in 3.1 for new sites that generate the required plugin pages through the initial setup wizard or on the pages settings screen. we are now generating these pages in a little bit better hierarchy. Formerly, all of our front end pages were nested within a membership account. So if your theme was like this one, membership account would also have levels and checkout and confirmation nested underneath it. We restructured how these pages are generated now that membership levels is a top level page. Membership checkout is also a top level page with confirmation nested underneath it. And then account and the account related pages are underneath. Login is its own standalone. I can demonstrate this more clearly here in the admin. We thought about what I always do when I set up a new demo site, which is change these pages and change the hierarchy of them to make more sense for what a normal site's like cart, checkout, shop, confirm, account, password change, all of that structure like you would expect. So that won't retroactively happen for old sites. All right, anything else design settings wise, front end stuff? Oh, our protected content messages. Those are really cool. Let's do that. I'm going to just protect this for, I have monthly, right? Let's protect it for annual and lifetime, and then we'll show. So this is upgraded also for 3.1. You must be an annual and lifetime member to access this content. And then if we adjust let me edit this again, to be a single level, we're now skipping that extra step. You must be an annual member to access this content, and it'll take you right to checkout for that single level so that people wouldn't have those two steps. I was on a piece of content that was protected for one level. Don't take me to the levels page. Take me right to checkout. So now we have the beautiful generated message, and we can put it back to the 2 levels. And then it just will show us our membership levels page rather than showing us all those levels names. We had cases where people would have sites with like hundreds of levels or even 10 levels, and this protected content message would show all of them in a comma separated list. It was just overwhelming. So now if it's a single level, we go right to checkout. And if it's multiple levels, we're not going to show a huge list in our generated message anymore, which is filterable if you prefer to do that. But we're going to show a link to the membership levels page where you should be using your levels design and layout to show what's protected and for whom. So it solves that issue where people had many levels protecting content for, and this was a little bit unwieldy, what that looked like. All right. We used to have a few features related to spam filtering and serving your site over SSL and having reCAPTCHA on your checkout forms in a few different places. So we've consolidated those settings and added a few more indicators to help people build secure membership sites. We know that the majority of people building sites with PMPro are doing it themselves, and they're not working with a developer to say, you need a DNS firewall or you need a WordPress security plugin. So we're taking that ownership. Because this is e-commerce, it's very important that your admin is secure, that you're not getting checkout spam. Your gateway will shut you down if they detect too much fraudulent activity, if you're getting chargebacks because people used stolen cards to check out. So how much can you prevent in your site as a person that's not necessarily an expert in website security? How much can you do yourself? So we moved all those settings into the security tab, and I'll talk through some of them. This first section relates to spam protection. This is set up as many as you can. Set up as many of these methods as possible. They don't interfere with one another. They're all necessary and helpful. Akismet integration. We have a free Akismet integration. Akismet is a community plugin, and there is a premium service, but for most of you, you're below the volume, I think, to use them with their free API keys. And this integration runs the PMPro checkout fields through the same spam checks that Akismet uses for comment spam and flags and blocks those registrations. So that's the first. This is not installed in the site. The second is, this was existed before, but it moved. I'll explain it quickly. Our enabled spam protection at checkout says if they keep trying, the same IP address is trying checkout, and they do 10 failures within a short period of time, we're going to start to throttle their ability to submit your checkout form. And that type of indication is to say, this person's probably testing credit cards. Would a human with a credit card fail 10 times in that short of a window? This is filterable. If you want to make it even tighter, I think we might be filtering it to a tighter window on our own site so that it's going to say, wait, try again later. And that's just one small thing your site can do to stop someone from doing a ton of card testing. Because if they did 1,000 cards in a moment because they're using an app to do it, that 1,001 card, that 1,002, those could be real checkouts. And we've had people have tons of charges they get charged back, and that can be a really expensive experience. If you were installed before this setting became available, we defaulted to having it no on new checkouts, but now in activation, now we default to yes. So I would check that setting and set it to yes. It's very important. And then reCAPTCHA. This is Google's reCAPTCHA service, which is an invisible. V3 is the best one to use, invisible. It's just an additional CAPTCHA check to validate if the person using the form is acting and seems to these checks, which I don't know how they work, like a human being. There's another one called Cloudflare Turnstile. There's a free plugin in WordPress.org that integrates with Paid Memberships Pro called Turnstile. That's another free service by Cloudflare you would use in place of reCAPTCHA that also does a similar humanity check. Definitely with AI and what people are able to build, we're seeing an increase in spam, an increase in abuse of all the forms on websites across the board. So these more and more of these tools are going to become added to the screen, and more are going to become necessary. It's the nature of our current world. These HTTPS settings, formerly when Paid Memberships Pro launched 13 years ago and a couple weeks, some sites didn't load over SSL, and it wasn't the norm for people to have an SSL for their website, to have a website that started with HTTPS. It wasn't the norm, especially sites that were just free signups. There was no gateway interaction. There was no payment form data submitted. It wasn't normal for sites to be HTTPS. Now it's mandatory. Like, you can't use Stripe in a live production mode without an SSL. And also SSLs have become free via the tools like Let's Encrypt. So most likely you're getting a free dedicated SSL through your hosting service and have some way to add an SSL to your web hosting environment. So this is just a check to make sure that your site's loading over SSL and that our information we're only submitting forms over the secure protocol. And then this other one, DNS Firewall, this is also a free service provided by Cloudflare. So we set it up for a few of our other network sites. And it's lots of good things in this free to use service we want to showcase for people. You just sign up, add your domain name, and make an update to your DNS settings with your domain registrar, and it'll pass your domain through Cloudflare's DNS firewall. I list a few of the benefits here. There's paid versions of Cloudflare you can consider that add more features to optimize and speed up your website, but the free version of Cloudflare is enough to block malicious traffic, to block a DDoS, where a spammer would send thousands of simultaneous connections to your site and just time out your server. Depending on how you pay for your web hosting, this could be a very expensive event for you. Some web hosts charge you incrementally based on the traffic you're receiving. And if you have this type of attack happening, you could have a very large build outcome in addition to a timed out website. I recommend a DNS firewall. We use a different one, Security, currently for Paid Memberships Pro, but I think Cloudflare is becoming the standard for websites nowadays. And then finally, WordPress security plugins. This detects a few different WordPress security plugins. I think Solid WP security. Our favorite is Malcare. It's an open source free plugin with a lot of built-in features to safeguard your site, to detect threats, have additional on-site firewalls. In addition to that, if they get through the DNS firewall, some other firewalls and some performance optimizations. So we don't have a financial relationship with Malcare here. We're just recommending it as one other vector that you can add to your site to make it more secure, to avoid cases where your site is down, it gets infected with some kind of spam, all kinds of stuff. We just know the DIYers that are building with Paid Memberships Pro, you're not thinking ahead to all the bad things that could happen. You're thinking all the awesome things you're doing with these open source tools to build a business, get paid online, and create community. This is the yucky side of what we do. That's the security tab. All right, design tab, security tab, styling, logic on the no access messages, edit customer Stripe button. If you're using Stripe as your gateway and you view a single subscription in your site, you can click through to automatically view that customer's information in the Stripe, which is useful just if you're trying to reconcile things. You can use this if you're trying to pause their payments or if you want to adjust their price that they're paying. This is a shortcut way to say, who is NextCV, Hobo, somebody, who are they in Stripe? Show me their customer information in Stripe. We're now using Stripe Checkout as the default payment flow. We see a lot of benefits to using Stripe Checkout. You get all the support of Stripe's anti-spam and checkout card testing. You also get all of these local payment methods automatically proposed to the user. Let me turn on Stripe Checkout in this testing site. So you'll see here, I was formerly set up to use Stripe's testing gateway in accepting payments on this site, which was that checkout we demonstrated earlier. If I change this to accept the payments in Stripe, which is new default for sites that set up Stripe as their payment gateway currently. So this is a paid level. I'll show what that looks like. It's going to take me to this custom Stripe payment page. And I'm based in the US. I have a credit card. It detects my country and region. It allows me to save my information to have a two-factor on a cell phone. But if I was based in the Netherlands, there's unique payment methods just for the Netherlands. There's unique payments just in India and rules and regulations related to that. This checkout page by Stripe will automatically detect the location I'm at and customize the forms, the fields shown on this form. If I'm in an area that requires me to add a billing address, it's going to show on this form. Certain locations will not allow you to make a charge without validating against an address or at least having that information to link that full customers to your page. This also is a great benefit if you are collecting tax. If you determine that your membership is one that requires collecting tax, this form, you can enable Stripe tax, and then this form will show the tax information based on where they're located so that the tax is appropriately corrected for their location. The user will still get created in your WordPress site. You'll have a token order waiting for them. When they complete Stripe checkout, they'll come back to your site and everything will be golden. Far less fraud when card testing when we go this route because of Stripe's built-in anti-spam protection on their end. It offloads all of that stress. Our update PayPal button. I might be able to hack this. Okay. We used to use this old PayPal button that was probably from 2016. It was very tiny. It was grainy. It looked bad and it wasn't accessible. It was just a graphic. So we've updated it to use a more modern PayPal button. And if I could put screen reader text on, it would probably be really loud and noisy, but I could probably show in the code here. This is a button element. So it's a button submit, which is an accessible type field. And my screen reader would read the button text checkout with PayPal because it's labeled here as screen reader text. The image would not be spoken because it doesn't have an alt text. So if someone was using assistive tools to read the web page to them, they would hear checkout with PayPal. And me as a person not using accessibility tools to speak my website to me can see the checkout with PayPal field. So that's a cool update, both accessibility and design, I would say for that one. Improve the billing failure email. This is when somebody's recurring payment fails. We now have a link directly to the right subscription for them to update. Formerly, it required a few steps. Filter for subscription cost text. Hiding and showing dashboard widgets. A site health update. This is an update to how email headers and footers are added to the body of the email. So it won't really show you anything has happened. This is an admin thing. If you refund an order from the edit member screen, we now show whether the refund was a success and that it was canceled. That member was updated and the refund was canceled. Before, it didn't show if there was an error with that refund process. So you wouldn't know if you were doing it from that screen, whether it was successful or failed. We've added some email template variables to the membership expired email template. Localizing. A lot of these are small bugs that are just improvements. Some deprecated filters and changed things. I will show the email templates just because it was a cool thing. These no longer refer to things as invoices, but you might have to adjust your own site. This used to be called invoice. Now it's recurring payment receipt. And the default text that shows in it does not use the term invoice anymore. If you have a site that was created before 3.1, you might have a different stored email template in here for your invoice template. You might want to look at the current generated text or reset the template to get the current recommended wording for this email. We also removed some of our trialing email. There used to be unique emails for certain cases that actually were never sent anymore by the modern version of the plugin, or that could be consolidated. That really any paid checkout is pretty much should look and will look the same now. So those were adjusted. We'll say give this channel a like and subscribe. someone asked, is this all free? Yes. WordPress.org, search plugins for Paid Memberships Pro. It's free to install, free to maintain, free to upgrade, free to do everything with. We're fully open source, even all of our add-ons. If you go to our website, paidmembershipspro.com/free, we have all about our philosophy of why open source is the best, why it results in the best products, the best platforms for you to use, and how to use things if the price to signing up is prohibitive for you at this time. So we don't want anyone to be unable to get started using our products. And we know if you start making a ton of money with Paid Memberships Pro and you want to give back either through contributing a translation, contributing code, or signing up for a paid membership, that we know you will.